Welcome to our deep dive into the case of Jodie Rana, a legal battle that reached the Court of Appeal in 2018. This case revolves around a conviction for arson and perverting the course of justice, but as we'll see, the evidence was far from straightforward. We'll walk you through the facts, the trial and the fresh evidence that ultimately led to the conviction being quashed. Let's start by setting the scene. Jodie Rana was convicted at Shrewsbury Crown Court in 2015, but her appeal raised serious questions about the reliability of expert evidence and the safety of her conviction. Jodie Rana, 22 years old at the time, lived with her parents in Telford. On the night in question, she went out drinking with friends and returned home in the early hours. The prosecution alleged that she set fire to her own house, endangering her parents' lives, and then falsely blamed her boyfriend. The case was built on circumstantial evidence, with a key focus on her whereabouts and actions during a critical 20-minute window. This background sets the stage for the complex legal arguments that followed. On October 25, 2014, Jodie was dropped off near her house around 2:00 a.m. after a night out. She called her friend Becky and claimed to be nearly home. Minutes later, her iPhone connected to her home's Wi-Fi router, a detail that would become crucial in court. Around the same time, a fire was deliberately started at the base of the staircase using petrol from the garage. Her parents, asleep upstairs, were awakened by the smoke alarm and managed to escape with help from neighbors and firefighters. As the fire brigade arrived, Jodie was seen approaching her house, distraught and screaming about her parents and her cat. She told her mother that her boyfriend was responsible, repeating this claim to police later. However, her story quickly became inconsistent. She gave muddled accounts to police, lied about her relationship status, and changed details about her movements that night. These inconsistencies became central to the prosecution's case, painting her as unreliable and possibly deceptive. The prosecution argued that Jodie set the fire herself, using her knowledge of the unlocked doors and access to petrol in the garage. They relied heavily on the timing of her iPhone connecting to the home Wi-Fi at 2:15 a.m., suggesting she was within 25 meters of the house, possibly inside, when the fire started. The prosecution claimed she acted while drunk, left no forensic trace, and then tried to frame her boyfriend, all in a short window of time. Pivotal piece of evidence was the expert report on Jodie's iPhone connecting to the home Wi-Fi at 2:15 a.m. The expert, Martin Griffiths, suggested the phone had to be within 25 meters of the router, supporting the idea that Jodie was at or near the house when the fire started. This technical detail was presented as nearly conclusive, and the jury was told it was an agreed fact. But as we'll see, this evidence would later be challenged. Jodie's defense was straightforward. She loved her parents and her home and had no reason to endanger them. She insisted she was further away when her phone connected to the Wi-Fi, claiming it often connected from much greater distances. She admitted to lying about her relationship with her boyfriend, but said it was to avoid family conflict, not to cover up a crime. She also admitted to a previous false police report, but argued it was an isolated mistake. Reliability of the Wi-Fi evidence became a major issue. Jodie's team obtained a new expert, Gregory Robinson, who conducted practical tests with the same router model. His findings showed that the Wi-Fi range could be much greater, up to 160 meters in some cases. Even the original expert, Griffiths, later agreed that the range could be significantly more than 25 meters. This meant Jodie's claim that she was further away when her phone connected was plausible. The new expert evidence, the defense argued that the prosecution's timeline was flawed. If Jodie could have been much further away when her phone connected, the window for her to set the fire shrank dramatically. The prosecution's case, which relied on her being close to the house at a specific time, was now in doubt. Both experts agreed that the phone's connection record didn't prove exactly when she entered the house, only that it was connected at 2:15 a.m. Trial, the jury was faced with conflicting stories and technical evidence. The prosecution emphasized Jodie's lies and the Wi-Fi connection, while the defense pointed to the lack of forensic evidence and the possibility of a wider Wi-Fi range. The judge reminded the jury that motive wasn't required for conviction, but the prosecution's theory relied on Jodie acting out of a desire to frame her boyfriend. Ultimately, the jury convicted her on both counts. Jodie's legal team appealed, arguing that the expert Wi-Fi evidence was flawed and that her conviction was unsafe. The Court of Appeal heard from both experts, who agreed that the original assumptions about Wi-Fi range were incorrect. The court considered whether this new evidence undermined the prosecution's case enough to make the conviction unsafe. The focus was on whether the jury would have reached the same verdict if they'd known the Wi-Fi could connect from much further away. Court of Appeal carefully reviewed the trial evidence, the new expert reports, and the timeline of events. They noted that the prosecution's case relied heavily on the Wi-Fi connection to place Jodie at the scene. With the new evidence, her account became credible, and the prosecution's timeline was less certain. The court also highlighted the lack of forensic evidence linking Jodie to the fire, and the short time frame in which she was supposed to have acted. Judges found that the expert Wi-Fi evidence had been a powerful and damaging part of the prosecution's case. With that evidence now undermined, the court concluded that the conviction was unsafe. They emphasized that their role was not to speculate on what the jury might have done, but to decide if the conviction could stand in light of the new facts. The answer in this case was no. Ultimately, the Court of Appeal allowed Jodie Rana's appeal and quashed her convictions. The case highlights the importance of reliable expert evidence and the dangers of relying too heavily on technical details without proper testing. Jodie's experience is a reminder that justice depends on careful scrutiny of all the facts, especially in complex cases involving technology. This case serves as a powerful lesson for the legal system. It underscores the need for rigorous testing of expert evidence, especially when it forms a central part of the prosecution's case. It also shows the value of the appeals process in correcting potential miscarriages of justice. As technology becomes more central to criminal trials, courts must ensure that technical evidence is robust, reliable, and fully understood by all parties.